kidding me? Are you kidding me?
You gotta be kidding me.
You kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Oh, are you kidding me?
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
You gotta be kidding me.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
You gotta be kidding me.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? You're kidding me, right?
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now?
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Are you kidding me? Jesus.
And hello fellow Taker Space Bandit here with another episode of World of Tanks. And today, yes today, or should we say yesterday,
All my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why'd she have to go? I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday.
we are in the new update 6.0. So today, it's not going to be a very easy topic. We're going to cover update 6.0 and what has happened in update 6.0. A lot of us were kind of blindsided by what actually has happened in this update, but I'm going to try to be as objective as I can here without sounding too salty or negative. I stayed away from making a video on this yesterday because I thought my emotions would pretty much affect what I'm about to say here in this video, so I decided to sleep on it, and I go by the 24-hour rule anyway. So anytime there's a big situation in my life that happens, I like to think about it before I actually start spilling out and saying things that are more emotionally charged than actually not logically sound or not making sense, right? It gives me time to process the information. So anyway, without further ado, let's focus on this update and see what has transpired. There's a lot of unrest in the World of Tanks community right now, from what you see on the forums, from what I've seen talking to fellow players, clan members, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's not an easy situation right now for either Wargaming or for the player base itself. We were waiting for this update for such a long time with great anticipation, and we were hoping for the greatest things to come, and yet we were sort of disappointed by what came out and what we've seen as part of this update and all these changes that took place. Now, the biggest takeaway that I can say for me was that the number of changes that went into this update was way too many, and way too many to grasp for any single player or person, to be honest. Usually when changes like these happen, basically it looks to me like a complete game overhaul, right? So something that you learn to play for the last 5-6 years all of a sudden changes so drastically, and you basically don't know what to do on the battlefield. So I think when it comes to changes, it is good to implement one change at a time, maybe 2 changes at a time, instead of doing this complete changeover and then basically everything collapses, because when there's such a big changeover, obviously people get used to things the way they were, And it's very hard to change the way you do things if you alter it so much, right? Especially if there are too many of the changes happening at once. So I think Wargaming did a little bit too much. I think this update had way too many changes. I think what they should have done is probably focused on certain aspects that they wanted to improve, like the graphic portion of the game, change the maps, maybe focus more on the commander system layout, and don't affect the actual HUD, the game interface, because I think that is the biggest problem at this point in time, because the way the HUD was changed, and fundamentally the game was changed because of the changes that were made to the user interface, in-game user interface. And I think a lot of players have problem playing this game right now because of that. And we'll get to that in more detail. But before we do that, let's first address some of the positives. And I don't think there are many, but there are some that we should probably focus on anyway. Let's be fair about this, right? So, in my opinion, some of the maps, like this map for instance, looks absolutely fantastic. Like the winter maps like Arctic Region, Mountain Pass, and Malinovka. Man, those maps look fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I like the foliage that they've introduced. There's a little bit more foliage on some of these maps. There's obviously the graphical map design is so much nicer to look at. Now, having said that, there are some maps like Sand River, for instance, and I found Fisherman's Bay, that have way too much contrast, and it's hard to see on those maps. So I don't know why these maps were brightened so much, but yeah, but I hope Wargaming fixes that going forward. Another thing that's kind of cool, I like the reticle. If you look at the reticle system, you can see where your gun is pointing, and you can see where the center of the aiming circle should be. So that way now you can actually correlate your aim position to where it actually should be. So that should stop you from firing a gun too early or too late when, let's say, you're rounding the opponent, right? So I think that's a nice feature, and I do like that reticle too. It's actually kind of cool. Now, commander system. I actually look at the commander system and I do like it a lot. I know a number of skills have been limited to only 9, but now you can pretty much customize your tank to any playstyle you want. Not only that, but customize it to any playstyle you want with better crew effects on that playstyle. So you can customize it to stealthiness, you can customize it to vision, you can customize it to rate of fire, right? I mean, it basically creates a completely different way you can affect the game on a battlefield. And you can do it better now than you did before. So if you play TDs, now you can actually have impact in the game. You can use stealthy TDs, make sure they're even more stealthy than they were before. You can optimize their accuracy, you can optimize their camo factors, and even on open maps without a lot of foliage, you can still use those TDs effectively to that degree. Now, one thing I don't like about that fact is artillery has become a lot more powerful now than it was before, because same thing that applies to any other tank, it applies to artillery right now. And artillery has been a king in the first day of this update with 3 per side. So yeah, I wasn't looking forward to that, to be honest, guys. Now, I think as far as positives, I think that's all I can really say at this point. There's a lot more negatives that we should probably point out, and most of them have to do with the user interface and the way the game is played. So let me jump into those right now. So the first and foremost, the biggest problem that I've noticed after the update is that now you cannot see the health status of your friendlies when they're behind a cover. So let's say if your friendly is behind a building, or if your friendly is behind the hill, you can no longer see the health bar of your friendly, and you can no longer see which tank is actually there. So let's say if your friendly is behind a wall on the other side of the building, and you try to scroll over the friendly to see how much health they have and what tank it is, at this point you're not able to do that, while in the past you were able to. And I think that's a very critical and vital piece of information that any good player needs. Because let's say if you're left 3v5 or 3v6 at the end of the game, you want to know what your friendly's health status is, so that you can make your decision as far as where you should deploy to help, right? I mean, let's say one of your friendlies is at 50 HP and the other one of your friendlies is at 2000 HP. Obviously you want to help the guy that's at 2000 HP, not at 50, because the guy at 50 HP will probably die regardless. right? So I think that's a vital and key piece of information, and it directly affects how you play the game. Not only that, but now friendlies that are no longer visible or they're not within your view range, they will appear on the map as gray. Now I don't understand why that change was made. I understand what they were trying to say. They were trying to say, well, if you don't see your friendly, he's behind a wall, that's why he's going to show up as gray. That means he's not within your view range. I think that's where the thinking process was. I think they were thinking that, okay, if not within your view range, that means you cannot fire at them. But that is not the information we're looking for in a game. As a good player, you want to be able to tell who's left on your team, what health status is of your teammates at any given time, and where you should deploy in order to help your teammates. So that's the way we should be looking at that. So that change, I don't think was completely necessary. I think Wargaming should consider going back to the original interface where you could actually scroll over your friendlies, doesn't matter where they are, and you can get all the information you need. Another problem with respect to that is if you scroll over your friendly, even if it's within your view range, you cannot get the information you're looking for directly looking at that vehicle. You're gonna have to take your eyes off your gameplay or where you're trying to look, and you have to look in the bottom right hand corner in order to figure out what tank it is and what health status of that tank is. And that's problematic because by doing that, your situational awareness is the biggest thing on the battlefield. And if you have to do that, if you have to take your eyes off the battlefield, it will definitely affect your gameplay and becomes distracting. Distracting probably is the best word. You want to be able to look at the vehicle and get all the information you need at the same time. So I think that's something that needs to come back eventually. I mean, that's very crucial and important piece of information. Now, by the fact that this information now is in the bottom right hand corner, the map was moved from bottom right hand corner to the top left hand corner, which makes things a lot more difficult nowadays too, because you're used to looking into bottom right hand corner for the map information. Now you have to look in the top left hand corner. Not only that, but colors have changed too. So not only the map position has changed, the color has changed. So it's a completely new interface to get used to. And I'm not surprised that a lot of players are having hard time to adjust to this, because me playing in the first day, I had awful time trying to adjust to this, and my situational awareness was absolutely brutal. Like, I had tanks coming at me from left and right, and I didn't know where they were coming from because my eyes were not trained to this interface, right? And colors definitely don't help. What else? Oh yeah, the damage and spotting damage indicators are gone. So you can no longer see what damage you made or what spotting damage you have at any given time. Again, I think that's very crucial piece of information, especially for those that are 3-marking tanks. Now, I'm not the one that 3-marks all the time, but I know a lot of guys that are 3-marking tanks, and that's the information that they need. That information needs to get back in the HUD. Now, the kill tank information. The kill tank information appears on the bottom of the minimap right now. In the past, what you could see in that information was what tank killed what tank, right? Right now, all you get is which gamer tag killed what gamer tag, which again is not very helpful in the game. What you want to know by looking at this information is which tank on the opposing team is dead and which tank on the friendly side is dead, so that you can get this information right away without looking at the map, right? That's the whole idea. Therefore, right now, this information is completely irrelevant. I mean, it's pretty much useless. You cannot use this information whatsoever, because you're gonna have to go into the map or team list and still try to figure out which tanks are dead, which are not. So a lot of information that was available just through the user interface quite quickly in game right now is gone or is scattered, right? That is my main problem right now with this game, and I think Wargaming has to seriously look at this. And the easiest thing to do, to be honest, the easiest thing to do would be flip back to the existing HUD and just leave the commander changes and all the changes that they created with consumables and everything else the same, the way it is right now. And I think everything will be perfect. I think the problem is that there are too many changes happening at once. And that's what I mentioned earlier. And that's why people have issue with this. Now, one thing I did not mention is the consumables. Yes, we do have reusable consumables now, which is actually, I think it's fantastic. because if your module dies multiple times, let's say Amorak on a Conqueror or like E5, you are able to repair it again. Before, you had to carry 2 repair kits, right? In this situation, you don't. So I think that is a great thing. The same goes for reusable medkit. I think those additions are fantastic in the game, and they will help with the gameplay, for sure. So, to summarize it all, when this update came out yesterday, and the first time I looked at it, I was very disappointed. Very disappointed. Because we expected this big thing, and we thought it was going to be absolutely beautiful. Maybe our expectations were a little bit too high for this, and this is where we are right now. It doesn't mean it cannot be fixed, though. I mean, certain things are workable, and I think they're good for the game, while others are not. And that's something that Wargaming needs to consider going forward, because with what happened yesterday, it looks like the overall reaction is so negative that I'm afraid the game is going to start losing population. Honestly, when I looked at it yesterday, I thought to myself, why do I want to play this game anymore? Because everything has changed, and I gotta get used to everything again. So that's the difficult part. And anytime there is a change, there's always a pushback, and there will be pushback, and that's normal. But I think they made too many changes at once, too fast. All we really asked for was +1, -1 matchmaking, maybe some matchmaking changes, and some reduction in RNG. That's pretty much all. And graphical interface, the way it was before, it was great. They shouldn't have touched that at all. They should have left it the way it was. Make the consumable changes, make the commander changes, and let us play it out, try to figure out how it goes. Now, I have a feeling that what you see here in this game right now and the changes that were made are somewhat relative maybe to the future of the game and where they want to go. So maybe eventually some of that stuff that they have here, maybe it will work for futuristic content, right? But it doesn't really work for World War II vehicles, right? I mean, interface seems too modern for that. I think they need to scale back a little bit here, go back to what we were before, and then whatever future content they're looking at, hey, maybe it can be usable at that point in time. But definitely, Wargaming should consider doing lessons learned and take community feedback here very seriously, because if they don't make any changes here, there'll be definitely a lot of players leaving the game, and I've already got a bunch of messages of players telling me that they're deleting the game, right? So that's not good for the game. Let's see what happens here. I don't want to go any further into this, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of discussion in the background with respect to what needs to happen, what changes need to take place, and I'm hoping that Wargaming will take this into consideration. They'll do their lessons learned, and they'll implement changes so that the player base doesn't drop off, because that is the main problem with this game right now. We need the player base. If the player base drops off, this game is gonna die. That's the last thing we want, especially for those that really like this game, like myself. Couple more things I want to add before we close this video off. First thing is the damage indicator is gone, so we no longer can see how much damage you do in a game. And that goes for both the damage indicator and for the assisted damage indicator. Now, these indicators are very important for players to know where they are at in the game, especially if they're 3-marking tanks. Right? If you're 3-marking your tank, you want to know how much damage you've made and how much assisted damage you have at any given point in time. And this interface, the way it works now, that information is completely gone. It's missing. Like, it's nowhere to be found. I think this is something that Wargaming needs to look at, and again, we need to have this information on screen because I think it's vital. I think that information is quite vital. Second thing that I haven't mentioned in my video yet is the battle ribbons. Boy, do I love battle ribbons. Like, this end screen in the game nowadays, in our new World of Tanks, it's nowhere near to what it used to be before. I mean, the way the end screen came in, it was like a parade. You saw all kinds of stuff coming in, all kinds of ribbons, medals, all that stuff. And you could just sit there and admire it, right? Right now, it's plain, simple. It has nothing. It has no soul, no meaning. I wish that Wargaming thinks about it and brings this back so that we can have some sort of ending to the game that people that have a good game can actually enjoy. I think that is the problem. I think that's what's missing for me, you know, just little things like this that make the game extra special, right? So anyway, I don't want to ramble too much, but I hope Wargaming takes those things into consideration. Myself and my clan, we've submitted some of the stuff to Wargaming, and we're hoping that they're going to take it seriously, look at it, review it, and hopefully things will change for the better. I know this update was a huge drop for everyone. I know everyone suffered big time when the update came out because it wasn't really what we all anticipated. Like I mentioned to you guys earlier, I was so disappointed. I didn't want to play this game yesterday, to be honest. And I actually, I played maybe about 20 games or something of that nature yesterday, mostly at lower tiers so that I can figure out how to play this game. I did have a good game at tier 10, which I'm going to probably show you tomorrow. So it just shows that you can still have good games even after this update. But it's not where it needs to be. This update is not what we wanted. And at least we have to reach out to Wargaming and try to show them what's wrong with the game. Make them understand. They don't play the game on a regular basis. I know some of the Wargaming stuff do, but some of them they don't. So we need to show them the way. That's the way I look at it. Anyway, guys, I'm going to stop the ramble right here. I don't know what else to say about this. I didn't want to go into too many details when it comes to everything. There's also a bunch of little bugs happening here and there in the game, but that's normal as part of a big update like that for it to happen. But I guess we're going to have to wait and see what happens over the next week or two with respect to this game and what development team is actually going to do to address all these issues. Anyway, guys, that's it of my ramble today. I was trying not to be too salty, and I hope I wasn't. If you want to be salty, leave comments in the section below. It's open. You guys can have a discussion. Give me your feedback, and I'll be glad to read through your comments and try to figure out what other information or what should we be relaying to Wargaming as far as what ails you guys after this update came in. And I don't mind if you rant. That's fine too. Just please be respectful and at least have some constructive comments when you're leaving feedback. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's it for now. Until next time, happy tanking. Space Bandit checking out.